Well, for the first time in response to some of these policies put in place, not only by Donald Trump, but by Elon Musk, there is a series of protests that's been dubbed Handsoff that have been organized across the United States and abroad as well, at least in a few cities. That includes here in Paris. Well, we're going to cross now to Bob Vallier, who's the spokesperson for Democrats Abroad France and a board member of Paris Against Trump. Thank you very much for joining us today, Bob. So what is the objective? Why organize these protests here in Paris?
Well, here in Paris, we're just simply joining what is now a global movement of these protests. We know they're taking place in Toulouse, in Lyon, in the Riviera, also in London, Berlin, Tokyo, Sydney, and all across the United States, both in the big towns, New York, DC, Chicago, Seattle, Los Angeles, but also in university towns, small towns. They're happening everywhere. And millions of Americans are coming out, not just in the United States, but really around the world. And in places that are not in the United States, we're being joined by our French friends here who are equally disgusted by what's happening in the United States. So it's not surprising that we have a good turnout. In fact, it's a great pleasure because it shows the world that even here we care about what's happening at home.
Bob, so Americans here in France are obviously watching and concerned about what they see happening, but do you think that there are ways in which Americans living abroad, particularly here in Paris or even elsewhere, have felt the effects firsthand of this second Trump presidency?
Well, absolutely. I don't know if we've felt them just yet, but we're going to feel them. I made the mistake yesterday afternoon of checking my 401k, and I'm still recovering from the nausea that I experienced. You know, Donald Trump made $5.1 trillion worth of value disappear from the stock market in the last couple of days because of his disastrous and stupid tariffs policy. I think there's a lot of Americans abroad who are feeling that sting. I know we have stories in Democrats Abroad of people who've told us firsthand experiences, binational families trying to go to the United States, being stopped and detained for 2 or 3 hours, questioned, have their phones looked at, and interrogated about their beliefs about Trump. You know, I myself am worried about going to the United States during the next 4 years because I'm very critical of Trump. My phone could be seized. My passport could be seized. I'm also binational. There's a lot of fear about that. So, yes, Americans abroad are feeling the effects of Donald Trump's disastrous 3 months in office.
Bob, have you seen any changes in membership to Democrats abroad since Trump's return to office? Are you under the impression that there's a bigger desire for people to get in politics, even though they are far away?
You know, coincidentally, Democrats Abroad globally is in the midst of its election season. This is when we renew our executive committees in each country. And on that particular level, yes, there has been a huge interest of people, new volunteers, who want to run for office in various Democrats Abroad places, whether it be locally in Paris or in Guadalajara or globally around the world. And in terms of our membership numbers, yes, we are surprised by how many people are now joining because everybody wants to do something, anything, in order to put a stop to this. And we're engaged constantly in all sorts of tiny actions, we call them, a lot of calling of our representatives and our senators, but also a lot of collaboration with our friends back home to help them organize resistance units, right, and to let them know that they have brotherhood around the world and sisterhood around the world in terms of this resistance. So there has been an uptick of interest on lots of different levels.
Vallier of Democrats Abroad here in France, thank you very much for coming on the show today.